Well, well, well. Yes, yes, we're back. Thankful Thursday, and we're here again. Fathers Who Care. I'm your host this evening, Walter Jones, and of course, you can tell that I have my special guests on. He's no stranger to the show. But before I present to some and introduce to others, I'd like to just say thank you all, Can TV, for giving us the opportunity each week to come to the viewing audience to share valuable information and share with some men and others how to navigate through some of the barriers that some of the men may be facing. For we believe at Fathers Who Care that any man that's physically capable can make a baby. But it takes a real father to be a man. And we're standing on that men can and men will step up to the plate and be responsible, because we really believe that when men step up, little boys sit down. And with that said, I want to thank Tiffany, I want to thank Amari, and I want to thank Barbara for all of the support that they've given us. But without any further ado, I'd like to talk to you this evening specifically because I know we got a lot that we want to share, and I don't want to waste any time. But I specifically want to talk tonight about spirituality and fatherhood. And anytime I even contemplate the thought of talking about spirituality and fatherhood and how we can motivate men to become better men and to be actively involved in their children's lives and their community lives and spiritually enlightening each other, I have no other option but to call on the greatest. And I'm calling on Reverend Dr. Marshall Elijah Hatch, the senior pastor of New Mount Pilgrim Church, the leader and founder of the Leaders Network, a father, a servant, a man of purpose, integrity, a servant for social change, an individual that's anytime you call on him. And I know everybody all over the nation calls on Dr. Hatch to come out to be actively involved. He's been working feverishly empowering young men to be better men. We've been taking a stand all over the city against violence. He's been leading the charge. Dr. Hatch has been leading us and giving us the vision, the guidance, and we're standing on his shoulders to go out there and stand for righteousness' sake. Welcome, Dr. Hatch, to the show. We know that you're not a stranger, but we just want the viewing audience to know how much we really appreciate you. We know that you're not short on stuff to do. And we know when we call on you, we call on you because we really want you to come in and really empower some folks. We want to talk about a lot of things tonight, but we really want you to kind of relax and give us this wisdom that we know you have. And we want you to educate some of the men who are watching the show tonight, because men do watch this show. And men would like to know what do it mean when we talk about spirituality? What do it mean when we talk about fatherhood? What are these terms, and how? We're not talking religious now. We're talking about spirituality. Now, you can take it the way you want to, viewing audience, but when we talk about spirituality, I think, Doc, you can take us to that next level. Also, you can take us to that next level when you talk about fatherhood. Personally, I love to hear the sermons on fatherhood. I love the fact that you allow men to come together, the mountain men. We come together every fourth Saturday. Men come together empowering other men. We just share with each other from all facets, just an array of different topics that we talk about. So every man that comes out of that particular session is empowered. And I want to really thank you for allowing the men to be men. You don't get in the middle of it. All right? You don't lead it one way or the other than just being a member of it. Yeah. You allow the men to come together and to set the tone. I mean, you overlook it and you kind of give us guidance to it, but you don't sit up there and pound, this is the way I want it done. I mean, you give men an opportunity to be men and men an opportunity to bond. So, Doc, first we want to thank you. We want to thank you for all that you do. We want to thank you for your leadership. We want to thank you for your integrity. We want to thank you for making a serious stand in the community and not selling out. We want to thank you for being that guide to a lot of other ministers who are striving to be the best that they could be. So with that said, first, thank you for being you. Thank you for the leadership, and thank you for the trust. Now, we want to ask you a question. In your opinion, what is spirituality? And then what is spirituality and fatherhood?
Thank you, Reverend Jones, and I want to thank you for allowing us to be on the program again.
It's our pleasure.
And the great work that you do with Fathers Who Care and staff, and of course Sister Jones.
Yes.
That
my rock.
Absolutely. And so, you know, the issue of fatherhood again, and as you explained, it's not really about religion as much as it is about understanding the connection that we have with our past and our future, so that, to be spiritual ultimately means, to connect with God. And of course, God is spirit, and God is eternal. So that understanding of who we are in time, that every man is really called to invest in the next generation that is coming up, and behind them, so that literally the Bible says that the righteous man leaves an inheritance for his children's children. So, to invest in what the generation that is coming in behind us, to raise up children, who love and serve and fear God, and who are able to, live in community and to ultimately take care of the least of these.
And I appreciate that, Doc, that because there's for those who are somewhat feeble-minded and really don't know the truth, you got folks running around here who actually think that most African American men have an issue with being a father. They got this phobia or this thought that African American men don't go to church. I know that to be wrong because I fellowship with a lot of men that go.
Absolutely.
Now I'm not disputing the fact that we do have women that go to church, and they come and men come, but they say men don't come to church, particularly African American men. They say African American men are not good fathers. They shy away from their responsibilities as fathers. But I really believe that all of that is just a farce. I
don't know that I've met too many
no, have I?
African American men that don't want to be good fathers. Whether or not we have resources to be it, that's another question. Or whether or not we've had good examples or good mentors, or good role models to pattern ourselves after and know how to be, that's another issue. But I can't think of anybody that I met that didn't want to be a good father. And so all of these things, we have to discuss them in context, in historical context, and then in the contemporary context, where you really have had a war against black humanity and black males in particular. And so we have to fight through that in order to emerge and to grow as men and as fathers.
Okay, now Doc, I have a few questions that I like to direct to you this evening. I do want to stay true to the fatherhood and spirituality piece, so you can chime in how you feel. That would be the foundation. But I also would like to talk to you about how can we, as men, particularly men of faith, curb some of the senseless violence in our youth and in our communities. I know you have led the charge, not only on the west side, West Garfield Park, you out south, you all over the place. Anywhere there's a call, a clarion call to come and stand for something, or particularly stand for righteousness, to try to end some of this senseless violence. I know you're always there. So in your opinion, how can we as men be actively involved in not necessarily reducing it at all, because we can't reduce it all, but how can we curb some of the senseless violence?
Well, we have to be involved in, some of the what I would call Band-Aid solutions. So, we do have a movement to talk about getting illegal guns off the street, sensible handgun control laws. So that's one facet. Probably the most important thing that we can do individually as we connect with others who are working in our community, whether it's the block club or the church or the social service organization, and connecting with something larger than ourselves. But then we can mentor ourselves, young men. I think that we know that our community has some tremendous challenges, and a lot of them are due to the absence of fatherhood.
Okay.
And a lot of young men and young people in a lot of pain because of the distance between them and their fathers.
Right.
And so it's also a great opportunity. It's very interesting when you read the Bible about the relationship between Paul and Timothy. Paul was Timothy's spiritual father.
Right.
Which means in an environment like this, when so many young people are really looking for fathers and father figures, for men who know what they're doing, these are tremendous opportunities, because almost every young person is looking for a father, and we can stand in that gap. And fatherhood really is spiritual. It really is an infusion of values, so much so that the person, the kid, really looks to the father and wants to please the father. You know, it's kind of biblical. You know, Jesus with the Holy Spirit wanted to please his father. And so when our spirit is in young people, they seek to please us, and we can use that influence, that guidance to lead and grow and develop them. And we can do that even when they're not our biological children.
And you have.
So these are great opportunities really to make a great impact with your life if you understand principles of fatherhood. And then, then ultimately, of course, we need to challenge young men to be responsible, for their own families and the children that they produce. I mean, we can influence young people to go the right way, particularly when we can be good role models right there with them. And then ultimately, once we rebuild the family, then in the long term, the violence will subside.
Thank you so much, Dr. Hatch. Listen, you're watching Fathers Who Care. Our number here is 312-738-1060. Our guest this evening is my own spiritual leader, Dr. Marshall Hatch, the senior pastor of New Mount Pilgrim Church and co-founder of the Leaders Network. Doc, I want to ask this question. Then I want to go into some of the projects that you've been currently working on. Specifically, I want to talk about something real dear to your heart, where you kind of opened up and talked about different things in relationship to faith, hope, and how to win the future. And we're hoping callers will come in. We got some coming in now. So one of the questions I'd like to direct your way is, why is it so important for fathers to develop their children with a sense of spirituality, purpose, and a fear of God?
And fear meaning reverence for God. I mean, it really, fatherhood is so key and central to the identity of a kid. Almost every kid wants to know, who is my father? And because it says so much about our own personal identity. And so ultimately, there is no higher order of manhood than fatherhood.
Okay.
And fatherhood is really the art and the science, the profound understanding of what it means to literally raise up with your own values and your own interests the next generation. And so, that's really part of our post-slave syndrome, is that we struggle to know what it means to live your whole life for the express purpose of pouring into the next generation. When it's no longer about you, that's when you're really grown.
Thank you so much. Doc, we got a few callers, and I'd like to direct the call, and then I want to take the conversation another way and start talking about some projects you're working on. Let's go with the first caller. Hey, Steve, thank you so very much for calling. Our guest this evening is Dr. Hatch. What's your comment or question, Steve?
Hey, Walter, how you doing?
Man, I'm still on the field, man. How about yourself?
Oh, man, life is good. Life is truly good.
Well, we got Dr. Hatch with us this evening, and we're talking about spirituality and fatherhood, how we can curb the violence, what happens when real men step up and little boys, have no other choice but to sit down. But we have my spiritual leader, Dr. Marshall Hatch, with us this evening. What's your comment?
Yes, and good evening to you, Mr.
Good evening.
I just heard y'all was talking about the violence. Now, again, there's no scientific point or anything we could just pull from the sand to resolve this issue. But I got a great idea, and it would be a two-part to resolve this issue for crime. Number one, the main attack that we need to attack now are the young children. The young children go from 5 years old and up, but stay with that group for about 15 years. You just got to keep on drilling them. Now, I'm not saying forget about the ones now, but if we keep on drilling the young is going to eventually mix with the older people. And like you say, sometimes, believe it or not, older people look at something that's looking nice, and they maybe want to emulate or do, or say, well, let me go home. I hope my son might end up like this. Again, I don't know whether it will work, but I know that I think that we need to spend more time with the youth. the youth, not so much at the kids as, you know what, let me tell you something. Violence is created through two versions, and that's by seeing it and hearing it. They don't read it. They just see it and they hear it. And they want to do what they hear. They want to do what they see.
Okay.
So if we tack that, just keep tacking it, I think it will work. And then you just keep on working with the youth. Sooner or later, again, youth get old. And old get older and die.
Okay.
So we just keep on doing what we're doing. Walter, listen, you always got a good show. I told you I was going to get a chance to see you on your first show.
Well, I appreciate it, Steve, and thank you so much for your faithfulness, man, and keep doing the work, man, because I believe young people can't be what they can't see.
Right.
So if they
and
see it in you, they can be
it. Hear y'all response, and thank you.
Thank you so much, Dr. Hatch.
Well, I mean, Steve is spot on. You know, we have to go back to raising up children at the earliest stages. We got to deal with issues of identity, which first begins with family and fatherhood, but also as a people, what we have come through, what we've overcome together.
Okay.
Understanding our own history, who we were when we were brought out of Africa. You have my book there.
Yeah. And let's do that. Let's do that, because I know calls are going to come in, and I don't want to be neglectful in that. But Doc, I know you've been working on some new projects.
Yes.
And one particular project we know is the book you just wrote, entitled Project America: Memoirs of Faith and Hope to Win the Future. So tell us a little bit about how were you inspired to write this piece, and what does it mean as far as how to win the future?
Well, I mean, this book, of course, it has the slave ship that is in our church in New Mount Pilgrim, which is the largest display of the slave ship icon in the world, is that window.
Absolutely.
On the west side of Chicago. But Ma'afa window, yeah. But it I talk about what it means to grow up in public housing with my own father, and I talk about what it meant to go to public schools, go to public high schools, go to land grant colleges, and then out of that eventually I developed a world view in ministry, and then ended up, of course, traveling all over the world, and what I see in the 21st century. I mean, this country is going to be a black and brown country. And it has a lot to do with what we see going on, particularly even with this election that is coming up.
Right. Please vote.
Yeah, people have transferred the wealth out of the country, and we need to begin to see who we really are in a global context.
So this book also calls us to purpose.
Yeah.
Calls us to service. It opens up our mind.
It tells us who we really are.
Absolutely.
In the global context.
Absolutely.
I mean, we really are a part of the majority on the planet. We're not really minorities. We're part of a majority on the planet that is really rising up all over the world.
So we're going to talk more about your book. Let's get a couple of callers because the lines are lit up. Let's hit a few callers, and let's be brief callers, because we want Dr. Hatch to talk to us some more about fatherhood, how to curb violence, how to create alternatives, and what's going on, and about the world. Go ahead. Let's get the next. Jim, your comment or question, please.
Yes, I really want to commend you guys for all the work you've done.
Thank you, Jim.
Thanks, Jim.
But I have a question.
What's your question, sir?
What are you guys doing to help inner city fathers reunite with their kids?
Okay, thank you, Jim. Thank you for that question.
Well, you work on that all the time, Rev.
Well, in all fairness, that's our life. That's our mission. We actually have a program called Fathers Who Care. So we're actually working to reunite fathers back into the lives of their children, be it through a petition to courts, be it through from non-custodial to custodial fathers. We provide legal assistance. We provide referrals for legal assistance. We provide outlets for fathers to come and expound on what issues they may have, be it child support, be it fathers' rights, be it custody, whatever the issues may be. We actually provide direct intervention to fathers to try to get fathers back into the lives of their children. So we really take that serious. Actually, that's our passion. I mean, we do expos, we do workshops, we do all. Doc, you at the events. So we're always doing events. This would be our 13th year of doing men's health, wellness expos, fatherhood expos at Malcolm X College.
And the fact is, Rev, you do all of this stuff programmatically, and we have, formal ministries.
Right.
But it's really the informal stuff that is most effective. And I mean the people that you have taken under your wing, young men who we've seen who are now, married and with their families, and young men who are now responsible fathers and responsible husbands, just because the real work is not really a program, but it's these personal relationships that you've been able to establish.
But we do that because that's where we at. That's the circle we in.
And we're right in the community.
Yeah, we're in that
Our
circle.
church is in the community.
Right. So we mentoring each other.
Park.
We empowering each other. Let's go to another caller.
We got Minister Mo.
Minister Mo, let's get your comments, sir. Thank you so much. That's one of our young men that we work with.
Minister Mo.
Hey.
Hey, can you cut your television down or back away from it so we can hear you?
Yeah, I can do that.
Okay.
I have two quick questions.
Okay, go ahead.
My first question is, Pastor Hatch, what do you feel that we can do to empower future leaders? And my second question is, what advice would you give to a young father that's trying to, find his spirituality?
Okay. Thank you so much, Doc.
All right.
Thank you.
I think that it's very important that, number one, you connect with somebody who already kind of embodies what you envision. As like Reverend Jones said, you can only be what you see. And I think one of the mistakes young people often make is they hang around all young people. Not a good idea. I mean, you really want some people with wisdom in your life to give you wisdom and counsel. And the same way, if you have a young wife, needs to be with older, mature women, or at least have access to them.
Yes, sir.
For counsel.
Yes, sir.
And then you have to understand that really, as a preacher, I can tell you, when you really want to do the right thing as a man, and when your goal is to take care of your family. This might sound a little corny, but I promise you it's the truth. God is going to help you. God is going to help you. There's 1 Peter 3:7 that says that, when we dwell with the woman, with our wives, as joint heirs with Christ, that literally your prayers are not hindered, They're not hindered, meaning that you have a unique relationship with God when you have a family. And really, the Lord's going to help you. I mean, that'll stabilize you. One of the things that we don't often talk about is statistically, when you look at single-parent households and poverty, there is a direct link between having one parent and poverty. I mean, the Bible says 2 is better than 1.
Absolutely.
And so, if you stay together, you're going to prosper. And I'm just add this in, I had a revelation just a few months ago, and I thought about marriage. Marriage really has one real goal above all. And you know what it is? Stay married. So figure out how to do that.
Stay there.
And
Let's get this next.
Be all right.
Let's get the next call, Doctor.
Yeah.
I want to ask you about the book again. Who we got next? Hey, David, thank you for calling. We have Dr. Hatch. What's your comment or question?
I actually have 2 questions for Dr. Hatch.
Go ahead.
My 2 questions are, what programs do you think can be created to help reduce violence in the community? And also, what advice can you give a young father trying to be in his child's life but is not able to?
Okay.
I guess the advice what you give for a father who wants to be in his child's life but can't do it, and what type of alternatives and or programs should we kind of create to kind of reduce or curb violence?
Well, I don't think we can ever negate, everybody's going to need money, resources to take care of themselves.
Mm-hmm.
And so, any kind of jobs programs that supports young men or allow young men to have gainful employment supports families. On the other hand, we have to help young men discover what their gifts and abilities are. Whoever you are, there's something you're good at. There's something that your passion is. and that normally leads you to you know what you really need to take care of yourself and take care of your family. So I mean, we always need employment programs, and that's important, and you know, helping people understand themselves and what their gifts and abilities are, and going into their own businesses. You know, not just simply a job, but really becoming entrepreneurs. You know, people come here from other parts of the world. They come to sell something to somebody,
and they're getting paid.
To go into business. So, I mean, you know,
they're getting paid.
Yeah.
But Doc, let's do this, because I want to talk some more about the book, if you don't mind.
No problem.
So Doc, you wrote this book, Project America. Why? Why were you inspired to write the book, and how can individuals who would like to know more about the book get the book?
Well, I'll take the second question first, because you can go to, you know, Google Books. I'm on Amazon. I'm on iTunes. You can download us. And so, you know, you really just Google Project America, Marshall Hatch, and you can go to Barnes and Nobles and order just like any other book.
Okay.
Or download it with iTunes. You know, it again, you know, it has to do with identity. I mean, so many of our issues have to do with not knowing who we are. You know, we need to mandate, for example, the teaching of black history in schools. And then we in our churches, we haven't done the best of jobs. We need to go back and figure out how to do a curriculum that teaches, you know, black history, black spiritual heritage even, so that the kids can get some complete image of really who they are in the world. I mean, the reality of it is, if we read the Bible, Genesis chapter 10, we're the first civilizers on the planet. We're the first nation builders. Our really black people. And so we have so much that would give us the identity we need to inspire us to be our best selves. And so I kind of wrote that book to talk about how I came to certain self-discovery of who I was and who I am on the planet.
Now, you also have here what others are saying about Project America. You got Reverend Al Sharpton.
Yep.
You got Congressman Danny K. Davis.
Yep.
You got Dr. Cornel West.
Yep.
You got Mary Nelson.
Yes.
You got Jane Ramsey.
Yes.
You got Wayne Coach Gordon.
Yes.
Lundale Christian Empire. And you got Lou Miles.
Yeah.
Attorney Lou Miles.
The deacon at the church.
Right. So you got all these individuals who are writing certain quotes and giving forewords on this book. And I want to say that for those who are watching, it's a must-read piece.
It's a great book.
A must-read piece. I mean, it's not no trivial reading. It's conscious reading. So, Doc, tell us again, the book said Memoirs of Faith, Hope to Win the Future. Now, give us your personal opinion of the state of fatherhood.
Well, we're in a crisis, of course, of fatherhood, and I think that a lot of our issues can be taken back to the disintegration of the family, to the crisis in black male-female relationships, and you know, really the bottom line is, you know, self-centeredness. You really can't do family with a self-centered mindset. And so, you know, spirituality just simply means to, at some point, learn that your mission is bigger than you, your purpose in the world is bigger than you, and it's all about building a family. In the Bible, we call God the God of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob.
Yes, sir. And you know, I would be remiss.
Multi-generational.
Absolutely. Doc, I would be remiss. Now, look, if you want additional information about this book, he shared with you how you can get online and do it. But, Doc, we're getting ready to go. But I want to just say, why is it important for individuals to vote?
Well, you know, voting is a part of your heritage. Our people died to have the right to vote, sacrificed to have the right to vote. And, you know, we have really a stark difference in this election, a stark choice between going backward and going forward.
Okay.
And I think everybody knows what that means.
Well, listen, it's about that time on the wall. You know, we want to thank you all for calling in. Those who tried to get in, we apologize. But tune in next week, same time, same station. Doc, I want to tell you how much we really appreciate you coming out.
Enjoyed it. Thank you for what you do.
Yeah, well, Doc, we do what we do because we have others like you to guide us to do what we do. We thank you all for watching, and we ask you to continue to support fathers who care. And listen, get out there and vote. God bless you. God keep you. And good night. Oh, keep the faith.